Hey everybody, it's been a super long day here in LA, about a week back, but I have a wonderful recipe for you all. So some of my more popular recipes are sourdough recipes, and this week I'm releasing two delicious, wonderful sourdough bread recipes that you can make in your house. The first is a remake of the chocolate bread from Cheesecake Factory. And the second one is probably my favorite. It's an everything bagel seasoning sourdough bread loaf. I think you're really gonna like it. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. I really hope you do. If you guys like this kind of content, be sure to subscribe, and let's get to the recipe. So we're gonna start by making the Cheesecake Factory chocolate bread. Add 120 grams of fed sourdough starter or 1 packet of instant yeast, in addition to 50 grams of maple syrup or 1/4 cup, 320 grams of lukewarm water, and 200 grams of almond milk, and shake it all up. I like to make my nut milk in my almond cow. I'll leave the almond cow information in the description. Add 100 grams of cacao powder and some whole wheat flour, approximately 200 grams. Lastly, in terms of flours, 350 grams of bread flour, as this really makes everything be very cohesive, 12 grams of salt, and 100 grams of old-fashioned oats or traditional oats. I like to do this in a stand mixer because it does a lot of the work for you, and you'll know when the bread is ready when gluten has developed and it starts to pull off the side of the KitchenAid bowl. Set it aside, and we'll be working on the everything bagel sourdough bread. Once again, in a kitchen mixer or stand mixer, we're going to add 120 grams of fed sourdough starter, 490 grams of water, no milk in this recipe. Give it a nice whisk and add 250 grams of all-purpose flour, in addition to 250 grams of bread flour and 250 grams of whole wheat flour. I like to add 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of everything seasoning and 3 tablespoons of ground flaxseed to make sure that everything is really nice, cohesive, and also a little extra health kick from the ground flaxseed. Once again, in your KitchenAid or stand mixer, combine everything using your dough hook until it's really nice and glutinous and slopping off the side of the rim of the bowl. At this point, we'll start the stretch and fold series. These breads are pretty low in water hydration, so we're just gonna do 2 sets of stretch and folds at 30 minutes apart. You could do a third if you'd like to, but it's not totally necessary. Just make sure to wait 30 to 45 minutes between each rep to allow the gluten to relax a little bit. I like to then cover with a little bit of plastic wrap, or you can just use a towel of choice and fit it into your fridge and forget about it for the night. I like to then reconvene in the morning, but you can also shape the bread before or after a 4 to 6 hour fermentation and then put them in the fridge. However, I like to wait to do the stretching and the shaping until the following day. At this point, I like to take the breads out of whatever mold or bowl I put them in. I like to flatten them out. We're going to do more or less the same process for each one. We're going to flatten out the dough to a rough rectangle. For a bowl shape, we're going to take all of the ends, more or less 4, and then add them all to the center and gently tug it to create some tension on the dough, creating a bowl shape. It's more or less in a sphere, and it's very nice and taut, but not too taut. Then we're going to add some traditional oats and roll the bread in those traditional oats. You don't need to add oil or anything, you just roll them right on and they should stick nicely. In the same bowl I fermented the bread. I'm going to then add a little bit of cornmeal to prevent any sticking and place the top of the bread side down. For the everything bagel bread, we're going to do the same thing. Roll it out to a rough rectangle, then take the top and bottom edges, pull them towards the center, and then form into a very long rectangle. And starting from the bottom, we're going to slowly roll, creating some tension all the way up until it looks almost like a cinnamon roll that's very long and like a cylinder. I like to add 1 tablespoon of everything seasoning, On the top is a really nice crust in addition to a dusting of cornmeal to prevent any sticking from the wicker basket that we're going to put it into. Now you can let these rise overnight one more time or just wait 4 hours to then bake them in your oven. It can take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours to let the sourdough rise. If you're using active yeast, this will be a much shorter time. For the boule, I just did a very basic cut towards the middle and the sides, a nice X, and for the petard I did a very basic slash on the side, which is very classic. In hot Dutch ovens that have been preheated for 45 minutes in your 450 degree Fahrenheit oven, we're going to place each bread into its own Dutch oven with parchment paper at the bottom and a dusting of cornmeal so they don't stick to the parchment paper, and bake at 425 Fahrenheit for 40 to 45 minutes. Then uncovered for another 15 minutes to let the top of the crust have a nice little cozier, darker bake. Take them out and be sure not to damage your oven, as I almost did my mother's oven. Close up your oven, let them hang out for about 10 to 15 minutes, and take them out of the Dutch oven and removing the parchment paper, and then placing them on a wire rack to cool completely for about 2 to 3 hours. You really want them to be nice and cool. This sets the crumb texture of your bread, and it's perfect for dinner or sandwiches during the week. These are some delicious and scrumptious sourdough breads that you can make at home, and I really hope you do. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel for full recipes every Friday and shorts daily. See you next time.